Picture an ancient human, and you probably picture a hunter, spear in hand, standing over a fallen mammoth, fearless. Now throw that picture away, because for almost all of our story, we were not the hunter. We were the hunted. To the animals around us, an early human was not a threat. It was a slow, soft, upright meal. And we were almost comically easy to eat. No claws, no fangs, no armor, no shell, no venom. We could not outrun a leopard, outclimb a monkey, or outmuscle anything our own size. We walked upright on two legs, which left our soft belly and throat completely exposed. We were a warm, slow animal, wandering through a world that was absolutely full of things built to eat us. Lions, leopards, hyenas, sabre-toothed cats, and eagles large enough to carry off a child. And that last one is not a figure of speech. Around 2 million years ago, in what is now South Africa, a child of the species Australopithecus, barely 3 years old, died. We found the skull, and it changed how we see ourselves. Inside the eye sockets are the unmistakable puncture marks of talons. What kind of animal leaves a mark like that? A giant eagle had dropped out of the sky, seized the child by the head, and carried it off, the way an eagle today carries off a rabbit. The kind of crowned eagle that most likely did, it still hunts the forests of Africa, plucking monkeys out of the trees. That child has a name now. We call it the Taung Child, and it is one of the most famous human ancestors ever found, remembered above all for how it died. It was not alone. At another South African cave called Swartkrans lies the skull of a young Paranthropus, a heavy-jawed cousin of ours. In the top of that skull are two neat round holes. And what could leave a mark like that? When scientists measured the gap between them, it matched something exactly: the two lower fangs of a leopard. A leopard had killed this child, clamped its jaws around its head, and most likely hauled it up into a tree to feed in peace. We are so sure because the same cave gave up the leopard too. For our ancestors, this was not a rare horror. This was simply the world. We were food. Scientists who study this even have a name for that long chapter of our past. They call it man the hunted. We like to imagine our ancestors as fearless cave dwellers, but the bones tell a humbler story. One saber-toothed cat of that age, a predator called Dinofelis, might even have specialized in hunting primates like us. For millions of years, across more generations than anyone can count, we lived our entire lives somewhere in the middle of the food chain. Always listening, always watching the grass. So how does an animal this soft, this slow, this easy to eat survive a world like that for millions of years, long enough to become us, not with muscle? We never grew the claws. We answered the predators with something else entirely, and every single one of those answers became a piece of what made us human. The first answer was each other. One human alone in tall grass is just a meal waiting to happen. But we were almost never alone. We lived in bands, and a band is a defense system. It is many pairs of eyes instead of one. It is a watch that never fully closes. It is a single shout that warns everybody at once. A leopard hunts by ambush, by picking off the straggler that nobody is watching. But a tight group that spots the cat early, turns to face it, screams, and hurls stones together is no longer easy prey. It is a fight the predator might lose. Long before we held any weapon at all, our first weapon was simply each other. So, what was our edge, if it was never going to be strength? Evolution did something strange and wonderful to our bodies. Around 2 million years ago, in the species Homo erectus, our shoulders quietly reshaped into a kind of catapult, built to store energy and snap it back like a slingshot. With that, we became the only animal alive that can throw something both fast and accurate. This sounds small. It is anything but. A chimpanzee is several times stronger than you, and it can barely throw at all. A human child can put a stone through the air hard enough to crack a skull. Think about what that one trick gave us. For the first time, a soft, weak animal could hurt a powerful one without ever touching it. A lion's claws have to reach you to do their work. A thrown rock does not. We had invented distance itself. We could stand together, pelt a circling predator with a storm of stones, and drive it off without a single one of us ever coming within reach of its teeth. But half of every single day still belonged completely to the predators, the night. So how do you survive the dark, when the dark itself belongs to creatures with far better eyes than yours? You capture the one thing every other animal on Earth runs from. About 1 million years ago, deep inside Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, Homo erectus was carrying fire in from wildfires and keeping it alive on purpose. To feel why that mattered, you have to remember what the night used to be. The dark belonged to the big cats. Their eyes worked where ours went blind. The night was their hunting ground, and in it, we were prey. A fire at the mouth of a cave broke that rule completely. No animal walks willingly into a wall of flame. Behind that fire, we could finally sleep, warm and lit and guarded, while the predators paced in the dark just beyond the glow, unable to cross it. We had stolen the night, and fire handed us a second gift we never even asked for. Cooked food gives up far more energy than raw, and that extra fuel helped grow the one organ that would matter most in this entire story: a bigger, hungrier, problem-solving brain. But we kept reaching further. So, what else could a clever, frightened animal come up with? We learned to put a sharp edge on the end of a stick. By around 500,000 years ago, in South Africa, people were already binding worked stone points onto wooden shafts, making the first real spears. And in a coal mine in Germany lies the proof of just how good we became at it. A set of wooden throwing spears around 300,000 years old, the oldest complete weapons ever found, shaped and balanced like javelins. They were lying beside the bones of nearly 50 wild horses. The soft little ape now carried a fang longer and sharper than any cat's, and that fang could leave his hand and fly. So what was the deadliest weapon we ever turned against the predators? It was not the spear at all. It was the mind behind it. We learned to read the ground, to recognize tracks, to guess where an animal would run and stand waiting for it. We learned to plan an ambush, to drive a whole herd off a cliff, to run a hunt as a coordinated team that all shared a single idea. And our own bodies had quietly become built for the chase. We had lost our fur and covered our skin in millions of tiny sweat glands, so we could shed heat just by sweating while we kept moving. A furred animal cannot do that. It has to stop and pant in the shade. So we would choose one animal and simply follow it for hours, across open ground, under a midday sun no big cat could bear, until it overheated and dropped in front of us. We had turned our greatest weakness, our slow and fragile bodies, into a weapon of pure endurance. And somewhere in there, the most important line in our whole story quietly got crossed. The hunted had stopped running away and started following. The prey had become the hunter. We did not just learn to survive the predators. We replaced them. The soft, slow, clawless ape that eagles once carried off became, in time, the single most dangerous animal the planet had ever produced. So how did a slow, soft, clawless ape fight off a whole world that was full of teeth? Not with claws we never grew, or speed we never had, or strength we never owned. We fought them off with the group, with fire, with the thrown stone, and with the planning mind. And look closely at that list, because it is not really a list of weapons. It is a list of the exact things that turned an ape into a human. Being hunted did not just threaten us, it built us. And it never quite left us. It is still in there, underneath everything. It is why a shape-shifting in the dark grass makes your heart leap before your thoughts can even catch up. It is why we still pull instinctively toward the light and toward the circle of people around a fire. It is why the dark, even now in a world we have completely conquered, can still feel like it belongs to something with teeth. The lions and the leopards and the giant eagles are gone. But the frightened animal that learned to outthink them and then to hunt them is still alive. It is you.